The Apaches. Let's start with the exotic. A photograph from the time of the so-called Apache Wars, which continued in the southwestern United States in 1849 to 1886. The taller Indian on the right is named Geronimo. He is a famous Indian medicine man and Chiricahua Apache chief who has been fighting the U.S. Army for 25 years. In 1886, he was forced to surrender, which put an end to the resistance. If we talk about the Apaches in general, then in the end, all their tribes were either exterminated or forcibly settled on reservations, and their ancestral territories were occupied by white settlers. Children are slaves. China, Fuzhou, Fujiansheng Province, 1904. The sale of children into slavery was not uncommon in China, as slaves were owned by many wealthy families. The poor often looked at this with fatalism, because a child sold into slavery was still better than a child starving to death. However, it is known that children were often simply stolen for subsequent sale into slavery. I would like to note that girls in China are still sometimes being stolen, under the pretext of a future marriage. This is associated with the ancient tradition of Tanjiangxi, but most modern people certainly do not want to follow it. Employees of the Vysotsky tea mixing factory in Chelyabinsk. Fast forward from China to the Russian Empire around the same time. No, of course they're not slaves, but most of the workers in this photo aren't even 12 years old. And the Vysotskys are a Moscow merchant dynasty of Jewish origin that made its capital in the tea trade. The head of the family was Wolf Yankelevich Vysotsky, who founded the famous Vysotsky Tea Company. Pupils of the Gori Theological College, 1888. But these boys were lucky even to get an education. Russian and Old Slavic grammar, church singing, arithmetic, catechism, as well as Greek and Latin languages were taught at this educational institution. The smallest boy in the center of the top row is Soso Dzugashvili. He is still only 10 years old, but years will pass, he will grow up, become a revolutionary, and the name of Joseph Stalin will be known all over the world. The ones that didn't exist. An interesting group photo with party workers of the Murom district, taken in early 1926. Please note that part of the photo is missing. It was cut out by a couple of people who were shot in the 30s. There was such a form of falsification in the Stalin era. A former comrade who became objectionable was not only physically removed, you know what I mean, but his memory was also being destroyed everywhere. To do this, pages were torn out of books, and general photographs were blurred. Faces were cut out and simply scratched. Army humor. Let's defuse the tense situation a bit with a funny photo, taken in 1916. Whatever you think, these Austro-Hungarian soldiers with rifles and sabers are actually hunting for lice. The first pitching of the Russian Empire. Unexpected, isn't it? These are really members of the athletics club. The man in the suit and beard in the center of the photo is Dr. Vladislav Frantsevich Krevsky, who is called the father of Russian athletics. The picture is dated January 13th, 1896. The third summer Spartakiad of the peoples of the USSR, 1963. There were such massive sports competitions in the USSR in 1956 to 1991. They were divided into summer and winter sports. In total, 10 summer sports contests of the peoples of the USSR were held. During the summer Spartakiad, competitions were held in several dozen sports, from chess to boxing, including, of course, volleyball. The photo shows the women's national volleyball team of the city of Moscow. Japanese ladies of light behavior at the end of the 19th century. Another exotic photo. Employees of the Cherry Blossom Institution, Kanagawa Prefecture, Japan, 1894. It is important not to confuse these ladies with the more famous geisha due to popular culture. These were called yuzo. They lived exclusively in a special quarter and had the right to go out only in 3 cases. If they needed to see a doctor, go to court, or if a client took them with him to admire the cherry blossoms together. A boy with newspapers on a street corner, 1912. A young newspaper delivery boy stands on the corner of a bustling New York street, loudly shouting headlines. He has a stack of recent issues in his hands. These boys, often from poor families, were an integral part of urban life and a symbol of hardworking America, where everyone tried to earn their place in the sun. The Alaskan earthquake, 1964. Magnitude 8.4. On this day, March 27th, nature showed its power. Tsunamis, Avalanches and destroyed cities caused enormous damage, and the disaster changed life in Alaska forever. A tram driver's cabin in 1924. Minimalism in all its glory. A driver's stool, a simple dashboard, and maximum functionality. Inside the tram there are loops for passengers, which can still be found in public transport. Smog over Los Angeles, 1979. Los Angeles was once one of the most polluted cities in the world. People wore gas masks to breathe. But thanks to strict environmental laws, the situation has gradually changed. Protests for women's suffrage in 1920. Women dressed in formal dresses and carrying posters filled the streets of New York. This historical moment captured their struggle for the right to vote, which they soon won. Manhattan train station in 1903. Imagine the bustling Manhattan of the early 20th century. Cable-drawn trams, horse-drawn carriages, and the majestic architecture of the station. This picture is reminiscent of what everyday New York looked like before the era of cars and skyscrapers. A cat crosses the road, 1925. A New York police officer stopped the traffic so that the cat could carry the kitten. Today, such gestures of care can be found not only in the United States, but also around the world. Parking in front of the supermarket, 1960s. This photo from the 60s shows a huge parking lot in front of a popular supermarket. A long line of shiny cars suggests that the United States was already a country where the car became not just a means of transportation, but also a status symbol. The parking lot, packed to capacity, illustrates the flourishing of consumer culture when every Sunday families went shopping, turning it into a ritual. Snowstorm, 1978. The northeast of the United States was captured by the elements. The snowfall stopped transport, and residents remembered this powerful blizzard for a long time as one of the heaviest in history. Young Michael Jackson in 1972. In this photo, teenager Michael Jackson is riding a bike, enjoying his childhood. He didn't know yet that he would become the king of pop music, change the entertainment industry, and fall into an endless whirlpool of fame. Hugh Hefner and his models. The founder of Playboy in 1953 easily poses with beauties. This picture has become a symbol of the era of glamour and the resurgence of popularity of adult magazines. The first vending machines for drinks in 1937. The photo shows one of the first vending machines selling carbonated drinks installed in Chicago. Such machines have become a revolution in convenience, allowing people to quickly quench their thirst for just a few coins. The simple design with large buttons and distinctive advertisements reflected the spirit of the time, the desire for innovation and comfort. The Denver Museum and Dinosaurs. In 1935, the staff of the Denver Museum collected a huge dinosaur skeleton. Back then, it was like playing with a giant construction kit. The USA has become famous for its natural science museums, and this picture is proof of that. Kirk Douglas is signing autographs. Michael Douglas' father was a true star of his time. In 1953, he was photographed with female fans right on the beach. It was the era of golden Hollywood. If you love vintage photographs and want to immerse yourself in the atmosphere of the past, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Here you will find unique snapshots, interesting stories, and captivating facts about celebrities and events that have left their mark in history. Support us with a like so we can continue sharing this amazing collection with you.